Hi, Jacob with Agorapulse, and in this video today, we're going to be taking a look at best practices for setting up an advanced listening search to monitor, measure, and protect the health of your brand digitally. Now, in this video, we'll be specifically looking at the advanced listening feature. Users here with the advanced listening are going to be able to catch all direct and indirect mentions. You'll also be able to gain insights into what your customers, what specific industries, or even what competitors might be saying about your brand. We'll also be able to understand different customer perceptions and sentiments. Now, these insights are going to be very helpful when it comes to understanding the perception and the health of your brand digitally. These are going to be really good insights to help make strategic and important decisions when it comes to your content and your messaging. Do we stay very consistent with what we're doing right now because it's working, or do we try to make little tweaks based on the reporting, the sentiment, and the content that we're seeing from our advanced listening? All right, let's get right into it. We're going to start with setting up a search to monitor your brand's health in advanced listening. To access your advanced listening, you'll click this icon right here, and you'll see your listening dashboard. If you have previous searches created, you can view these at a very high level or click in to view more detail about those. We'll get into that in just one second. Our first step here into monitoring our brand health is to create a search. And we'll do that right here in the top right-hand corner by clicking Create Search. When it comes to building your search, you have a couple of main sections. First, we're gonna give our search a detailed description and a title so that we know and other users know what this search is and what it may be listening for specifically. So for this search specifically, this is a brand health search, and I want to let everyone know who may be looking at this after I create it. Hey, we're listening for direct, indirect mentions, keywords, hashtags all around our Agorapulse brand. Next step is we're going to want to turn on the sources. Now, for best practices in measuring your brand health, I highly encourage and recommend turning on all these sources. Again, if you have profiles on these networks like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and then also for monitoring content outside of the social realm of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, turning on these web and news blogs. So all these sources have now been triggered to be turned on, and now we're going to set up the parameters that are actually going to create the structure of the listening search for our brand health. Now, when it comes to the social networks, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, I do want to and recommend monitoring all of the mentions that come in here. In order to do that, we're going to need to set up a mention for all of our pages. Now, specifically, I want to monitor all mentions for my Facebook page. So I have that now already set up. Next, I want to monitor all the mentions for my Instagram page, and I can select that right here. Now, again, just a reminder, when we're adding in mentions, we may have multiple profiles. For example, our Twitter accounts, we have different language Twitter accounts. In this example, I want to monitor our main one, but if I wanted to monitor all of those individual Twitter accounts, you will need to set up mention parameters to specifically alert the advanced listening to listen for those mentions. So now we set up the search to monitor all of those direct mentions from Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Now, when it comes to keywords and hashtags, they operate a little differently. We're going to take a look at setting those up for monitoring our brand health next. When it comes to monitoring hashtags, this is going to have a dual application. If I want to monitor, and for best practices, I want to monitor my brand name, Agorapulse here. But when it comes to hashtags and keywords, as we'll see, you are able to turn on and off different sources that this may apply out to. For example, hashtags will apply to both Twitter and Instagram. If I don't want to specifically for this search, listen to Twitter or Instagram, I can turn that off. Again, best practice for this broad brand health monitoring, I highly encourage monitoring hashtags on both of those networks. Now, when it comes to keywords, very similar as well too. Keywords I recommend for a high level brand health score, monitoring your brand name. And again, we have the options to monitor this just on Twitter, or do I want to monitor this on any news or blog posts that may come across the web? Again, for this best practice, I highly encourage keeping all of these on so we're casting a very wide net. Now, we also have the ability to exclude parameters. Excluding a parameter is going to help tweak a search and make it very much more specific. Now, when we're looking at brand health and monitoring, maybe we don't want to get into the specifics yet, and I highly encourage when you're first starting this out to create a very broad search again. So I would not encourage any exclusionary parameters. As you maybe get more advanced and you want to listen for maybe specific topics, or maybe exclude specific topics where people are mentioning your brand, but also mentioning another topic, maybe a competitor, you can start to exclude that content out of this listening search as well. At the very end, you have a couple of really cool filters as well too. Now, these are going to, again, also narrow down the search results, but these may be very necessary as well too. For this example, we're listening for Agorapulse brand health scoring mentions monitoring for only English content. So I can come in here and I can narrow out the content by the language type, and select that here. These filters are going to allow you to apply as many as possible. So if I do want to listen to multiple different languages, or I want to limit the different countries of origin where this content is being created and pushed from, I can limit that as well too. Again, for this specific example, we're listening for brand mentions for our English content. We will do that here, and I do not want to exclude any countries of origin. Once we're done setting up the search, save the search, and the advanced listening will start listening for all the content based on those parameters. Now let's hop back to the main dashboard, and then we'll dive deep into the actual results of our search. So now we're back here to the main listening dashboard. And again, we have different searches maybe created. Maybe we're listening for different topics or different items at different times. You can come in here, and at a quick glance, this is really cool. I can see, hey, this listening search that we just created, we're listening for all these items. This is what we're trying to listen for. This is the outcome of what we're listening for, but these are the networks we're listening on, the keywords, the hashtags, the mentions, and then these are the high level metrics we're gonna see. So really at a quick glance, I can say, hey, this is good. Like in 7 days, this has created 100 posts. So this is creating good level of volume. This is a really good sentiment score, 93 out of 100. That's a high positivity, and then pretty good engagement. So 100 post volume, we're getting about 4.7 engagements per post based on that quick overview. So that is a really good overview just at a quick glance. Now, when it comes to diving deeper, we can simply click on this search and get a lot more granular information that's going to help us with understanding more our brand health and monitoring that sentiment of our brand. So here we are, we're deep diving into our actual search. And this is really cool because you have two kind of main sections and views here. You have one with all your metrics right here, which we'll dive into. And then you have one that's showing all of the content that's being generated, that's making up all of these statistics, that's being pulled in from this advanced listening search. Now, the first metric that we see here is volume. Now, when it comes to brand health and awareness, this is a very important metric to understand the volume. How much content is being created where people are mentioning us in their post? This is really cool. This is going to tell us kind of the popularity of content for that, or popularity in terms of creation. So is this content that people want to create? Are people mentioning us on a regular basis? This is something that I would look at as a baseline and look for maybe a potential increase, or monitor this graph right here to see if there's any dips or spikes as well too. We typically have spikes on Tuesdays and Wednesdays because that's when we release stuff. So this graph makes a lot of sense, and we want to maybe monitor this trend as it moves forward. Something also really cool and to look at for brand health when you're looking at this volume metric is this unique author and average posts per day. So again, a good high volume, about 12 posts per day, are related to us, not content that we're creating, but content that's outside, people mentioning us or mentioning us on web news and blogs. And this is really cool too. These are unique authors. So this is how many different people are creating content. This is a very good high number. We want to see this obviously increase potentially. So we'll monitor this as well in the volume section for our brand health. Now, right below the volume is the sentiment analysis, and this is really important to understand the feeling, the sentiment of the content that we're listening for on our advanced listening search. So we saw in the volume section, we're getting a lot of good volume, a lot of unique authors of that content, so a lot of unique pages, individuals are creating that content. Now we want to see kind of the overall sentiment. What is the feeling? What is the overall sentiment of those posts? And right here we can see at a quick glance, hey, this is a very positive score. We have 93 out of 100. That right there tells me very good. We have a nice smiley face telling us the sentiment score is very positive. And if you ever want any more details on any of our reports, specifically the sentiment report, just scroll over here. This will tell you exactly how this is being measured and why it's being measured in this way. You're also going to see some comparison metrics. Now, did we increase our sentiment? Do we increase positivity? That's typically what we want to do in our brand and health scoring when we're doing that in advanced listening. So I can see here from the previous week before, the content that's being generated here most recently in the last 7 days, that has an increased sentiment score of 24 points. Now, if I want to change that or tweak that here, we do have filters up top. Specifically, if I want to change the date range, I can change that right here to see different content ranges and also see the different content from the last 7 days, 14 days, or within that last month. Now, in general, we do want to see a high positive sentiment. Now, to get even more granular with this report, specifically on the sentiment side, we may want to see maybe the different type of sentiment we're getting across different networks. For example, what's our sentiment when people are creating content that's mentioning us on Instagram? Is that higher? And that's a really good view that we can see here. We have more increased number of positive posts right here, and we have a lower number of posts compared to the overall 100 So that volume number is down, but we can see that the sentiment is higher. So that really gives us good insight. Hey, maybe we can encourage more people to create and share with us on Instagram, because the content they're creating and sharing, like this cool coffee, fresh flowers, is really positive. It's stuff that we can reuse. It's stuff that we can help encourage and share on our pages to encourage other goodwill towards Agorapulse and the value and benefit that other individuals are finding here. So when it comes to the sentiment scoring, when it comes to all of these reports, utilizing these filters to narrow down and specifically see certain types of content, certain sentiment scores of the type of content, or even certain content types. These are really going to be helpful in understanding different angles, different views. Are we performing really well on Instagram? How are videos performing really well when people are mentioning us? Is that a positive score? Are people saying good things when they're posting GIFs that include our brand name or tags of our pages? Now, the last important metric that's available to you here in your advanced listening is the ability to see the engagement and the engagement trend. So we've seen volume. We have 100 posts in the last week of people mentioning us, talking about Agorapulse across all of our sources. We see that's all really good positive sentiment. So the posts themselves are very good. But when it comes to people creating content, so all of these users that are creating content mentioning Agorapulse are wanting to get engagement out of their content. So is that content that they're creating that has ties to Agorapulse or mentions of Agorapulse, is that very engaging for their audiences? And that is a really important metric for us to see, to understand how much attention this kind of content is getting as well too. Is this content that's relevant to their audiences? And when we look at here again, we're seeing the trends, we're seeing the total engagement 447, average per day of 55 engagements. That's really good. So if you make an Agorapulse post and you're tagging or mentioning Agorapulse, you're seeing an average of about 55 engagements per day on those posts. Now again, we can see similar trends. Again, we release things on Tuesday, so people may make a lot of noise once they see the release on the next day. So we may see a high volume of posts and we may see a lot more engagement. This makes sense internally with our strategy and what we're seeing. So with all of these insights from the metric perspective, I would say, hey, we're maintaining really good levels of consistency. We see that spike up when we release new features, people are very engaged, and then we kind of lull down, which is normal, and then we make more noise again with what we want here. If I want to make more noise later in the week, maybe we look at shifting when we release things, or maybe we look at creating more noise around content that we're involved in later in the week as well too, to create more content and posts. From a sentiment perspective, we're scoring really well. So I like the way that people are talking about this, and we don't really need to make any changes at the moment right here. We just want to monitor this scoring. And again, from the engagement perspective, we're doing really good. It's following the same trend of when we're releasing stuff and when people may be sharing stuff. So maybe we want to tweak when we're releasing stuff to get maybe more engagement and more content created by people who are seeing the new features and new items from Agorapulse maybe later in the week. But this is a very good brand health score from the metrics perspective. The last thing I want to dive in is some actual content. When it comes to digital marketing, content is king. Content is everything. Every time we make a post, every time we do something, it's a piece of content. So this listening search, while we have really good understanding of how our brand, the sentiment of our brand, the engagement of content that mentions our brand is scoring really well, while we see that, I may want to get insights into maybe content that we can create and maybe tweaks that we can create in our content. So with that, we have our content section here. This is going to show every single post across every single source, every single sentiment type, and every single type of content available right here. So again, 100 posts were pulled from this listening search. Maybe I want to inform my team on some more informative web blog content. So what kind of web and blog content is out there? And let's look up some positive web and blog content. What are the positive web and blog content posts that other users or other organizations are creating? Maybe we can take that and take those content ideas and make them our own. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. So we can see how to build great video on a budget. We're being mentioned here in Agorapulse. Customer service trends. So we're seeing that kind of content about the strength of our top rated customer service here at Agorapulse is actually drawing really good engagement, really good positive sentiment when Intercom, when these other pages are creating content about us and about the importance of our customer service. So that might give me good insight from my content team. Hey, why don't we own this topic, because we do own the market in terms of customer service. Why don't we own that topic and talk about how and why we've created that? So looking into this content section, using these filters is a really great way to narrow down, okay, the content type on a certain network, to understand how is this performing? Is it positive? Is it engaging? Is it stuff that people are wanting to see? And then taking that thought and understanding if I want to add that into my strategy, or maybe we want to exclude that from our strategy because we're getting such good users or external user-generated content that we're seeing here in this listening search. Thanks so much for watching. To learn more or to watch more about our advanced features or some more best practice content, please visit our website, our YouTube, or start a direct chat with us today. Bye.